2 million years ago, a boy kneels at the edge of a drying riverbed in what is now northern Kenya. He hasn't had water in over a day. The pool in front of him is the color of tea, and something large just submerged itself on the far side. He drinks anyway. That single decision, thirst versus risk, was made by every human ancestor who ever lived, thousands of times, for millions of years. No filters. No boiling. No idea that anything called bacteria existed. And yet the species survived, spread across 7 continents, and eventually built cities on the strength of that same drying river logic. Start with the trap our own biology set for us. Humans are, gram for gram, some of the most efficient sweaters in the animal kingdom. That adaptation is a superpower. It's part of what let early humans run prey animals into heat exhaustion across open savanna, a hunting strategy known as persistent hunting. But cooling that well has a price, and the price is paid in water. A person walking in African heat can lose over a liter of fluid an hour. Unlike a camel, we don't store meaningful water reserves. We are, biologically speaking, a species that gambled its entire survival strategy on being smart enough to always know where the next drink was. So evolution didn't just give us thirst. It gave us memory for terrain and route-finding instincts sharp enough to make that gamble pay off. Back to the boy at the riverbed. He didn't find that pool by accident. His group had been following a dry watercourse for 2 days, watching for one signal. A stand of palms, greener and denser than the surrounding scrub. Vegetation like that doesn't grow without a reason. Somewhere underneath it, water is still moving, even after the surface has gone dry. This is the part most people miss. Ancient humans weren't guessing. They were running a constant, generational risk assessment. Green patches in a brown landscape, animal trails converging toward a single point. Birds circling at a fixed time of day. Even the smell of a place, stagnant water, announces itself before you see it. None of it was foolproof. Following an animal trail could lead to a spring, or it could lead to a mud wallow that would put a human digestive system through a week of misery, even though the antelope drinking there felt fine. Reading the land reduced the odds of disaster. It didn't erase them. And when surface water vanished entirely, there was one more trick, older than most people assume. Digging into a dry stream bed. Scoop a shallow pit into the sand where a river used to run, wait, and water seeps upward from below. Cloudy at first, then clearer once the sediment settles. It's slow. It's not much. But it's often the difference between moving on and not moving at all. Here's the part a lot of ancient survival content skips entirely. For early humans in East Africa, the water itself was frequently the safest part of the encounter. What waited at the water was the real threat. Waterholes were ambush points. Predators know exactly where prey has to show up eventually, and they wait there. Crocodiles, big cats, even rival groups defending territory. A water source was a high-traffic, high-risk location. That's part of why early humans often drank fast in groups at the margins and moved on rather than lingering. Survival wasn't just find water, drink water. It was a whole choreography. Approach cautiously, post lookouts, drink in shifts, don't be the last one still crouched at the edge. That ritualized caution almost certainly predates anything we'd recognize as culture, and it shaped how every water-dependent creature on that landscape, including us, behaved. Fast forward past the riverbed, past thousands of generations. The tools changed, stone, then fire, then pottery. But the single most important piece of survival technology never needed a workshop. It was memory passed between people. Which spring still runs in the dry season? Which pool turns foul 3 days after heavy rain? Which bend in the river collects waste from upstream? This information had no value to one person alone. It only worked as a shared, updated, cross-generational map, carried in stories and warnings. An elder saying, "Not that one," was, functionally, the earliest water safety regulation our species ever had. And this is where a popular myth needs correcting. Ancient people were not protected by superhuman immune systems, and they didn't dodge the problem by drinking beer instead of water. Contaminated water still caused illness and death, especially in children. The skeletal record backs this up clearly. What made survival possible wasn't biological armor. It was that the cost of every mistake got converted into a rule the next generation didn't have to relearn the hard way. Jump forward again. To roughly 7,000 years ago, Central Europe, early farming communities did something that changes the entire equation. They dug straight down instead of walking further out. Archaeologists have recovered wooden well shafts from this period, built from precisely joined oak timber, not crude pits, but engineered structures reaching down to groundwater, built to last. This mattered enormously because groundwater behaves differently from surface water. It's been filtered slowly through soil and rock, shielded from sun, animal waste, and the seasonal collapse that turns an open pool into a concentrated puddle of everything you don't want to drink. A well didn't guarantee purity, but it converted water from something you found into something you controlled. And control. And control. And control. Noble groups could always walk away from a bad water year. Farmers, with fields and stored grain and permanent shelters, couldn't. Dependable well is arguably as responsible for the rise of settled village life as any crop ever was. So, how did ancient humans survive? Not through immunity. They survived through attention. Reading a landscape most of us would find unreadable, converting individual near disasters into rules that outlived the individual, and eventually building infrastructure that turned a gamble into a guarantee. That boy at the riverbed 2 million years ago is, in a very real sense, the reason a tap in your kitchen produces something safe to drink without a second thought. Every warning his descendants passed down, every well someone's ancestors dug by hand, every rule about which pool to avoid. All of it compounded, generation after generation after generation, into the version of finding water you never have to think about. You just turn a handle. He had to know the land.